Hello there, and welcome to Shedtalk again. I'm still rebasing this marathon. I've just been watching. I was going to record whilst doing some other bits and bobs. However, rather inconveniently, it's the Six Nations, and I quite like my rugby, so I've been watching that. England nearly lost to Wales, which was far too exciting for a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, so I'm still rebasing these guys. It's I've had quite a few busy and stressful days, so I've not been particularly on it in terms of recording. So apologies that there are a couple of short videos that I've done, but yeah, I've ordered some Ushabti Bowman from the GW website, so we shall see when they actually arrive. I'm not entirely sure. It's not amazingly clear, but yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get these guys done, and then I'm going to pause recording and go and get some other guys to do. Oh, that one's at a real funny angle. Actually, that will do fine. Like I said, when you're doing spears, you want it so the spear like points. I can't really show you very well, but the spear like points just towards a corner a little bit, so that essentially you've just got a bit more space between it and the model in front. In game, I'll use all of these as being equipped with spears. I tend to find that players don't mind if you don't have exactly the right weapons, as long as you tell them, and as long as they're all the same. So if you've got like, 3 different weapon options and 3 different units, and they all look like they're on the same, and you're like, well, one of those is great weapons, one of them's 2 hand weapons, and one of them's like sword and board. That's a bit confusing, but there's a few things I wanted to talk about today. The first thing really is just a general hint on gamesmanship. There's a battle report that I watched the other day, and I am considering doing a commentary video on it, like a tactical, because there are some useful tactical lessons you can take from that particular video. However, there's a lot of, and I'm probably not going to cover the video now because I'm going to say something that's possibly slightly controversial, and to be honest, I don't want to be accused of being like overly negative or whatever, but like there's a lot of gamesmanship in that particular game that, I mean, personally, I don't like it because it's not necessary. I think that's the main thing. It's just unnecessary to have to win a game by, So there's a point where essentially a guy charges a unit into another unit, and he really shouldn't have done that. But the only reason he shouldn't have done it is because there's a sort of temporary effect on the unit. And, to be honest, like, why have I got it facing that direction? That was so dumb. Will you just stay still? God, this one's slippery. Yeah, to be honest, I don't want to say any more than that because it will probably give away which one it is. But like, he'd obviously just forgotten, the reason why, the temporary effect that was applied to that unit, and it just felt a bit like a gotcha sort of moment where they kind of like, they were kind of like, what? Yeah, there you go. I don't know why I keep focusing on my face. Nobody wants to see my face. Um, yeah, so it just felt a bit like a gotcha, to be honest, and I was a bit kind of, I don't know, taken aback, I suppose is the phrase. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to cover that one because it's not. I don't know. It's quite difficult picking like which battle reports to cover. Some of them are just like full of like rules errors, and they're the easy ones to go for because there's a lot of learning opportunities basically because there's loads of rules errors. Some of them are just really interesting games where somebody's made quite sometimes quite a fundamental tactical error, and if I was making these again, like and basing them on square bases, I'd definitely have them all with spears upright because it gives you 3 contact points with the base, so it's much more stable. Yeah, sorry. So some of them are really easy to pick because there's a lot of rules mistakes, and again, it's a really good learning point. Some of them are, to me, pretty obvious because there's like one key tactical mistake that a person has made, which again is really good from a lot as like a learning opportunity. But some of them, like this one, are sort of 90% okay, and then there's just a few little bits that are like, just a bit silly, and I'm not sure they're really worth pointing out. So yeah. Anyway, so that's that video. But as a general point on like gamesmanship, I just think it's just better to try and be kind to your opponent and just try and let them play their game, because they've also spent hours and hours and hours lovingly painting an army, getting it on bases, bringing it to the tabletop, so on and so forth. So it's it's a real hassle, really, to put an army together, really. So you want to let people, especially if it's a friendly, you want to let people do the cool stuff with their army, because they've built it because it does one or more things that they think is like really cool, and they want to just try it out on tabletop, and it sparks their imagination, and so just letting people get away with stuff is I think pretty important for a friendly type game, because then the likelihood is they'll let you get away with things, and if you let them get away with things and they don't let you get away with things, then that that's a person you're not going to play again. So you've at least so what I'm doing right now is I'm figuring out which ones have got shields and which ones haven't. I think actually I should probably just put these back in the I should just put these back in the tray. These skinks and salamanders are rubbish. Pretty much, they're not actually going in the bin, but they are. Ow. They are. I don't know why I did that. They are not very good in this current edition. They've just got flaming attacks, so they've got to be really close to the enemy, and like I don't think that's, unless you're quick, and you can pretty much guarantee them getting off. Because the problem is you basically got to get in charge rate, and you can't stand and shoot with flaming weapons. So like they're just not even good as like as like a charge blocker. So I don't really see what the purpose of salamanders is in the current Lizardman army book. So yeah, sadly, I got them because this used to be an AOS army, and there was one edition a while ago of Age of Sigmar where salamanders were broken beyond all recognition. Sadly, in that edition of Lizardman, Saurus were rubbish. So I built this list because Saurus were great, and then they, became rubbish. And so I thought to sort of make the list a bit better, I'll buy some salamanders because, that'll make it at least passable. So if I did decide to take it to a tournament, I'd stand a chance of like winning at least one game. Never went to tournament with it, which was a bit of a shame, to be honest. But yeah, ooh. Oh, a stabbing pain behind my left eye. It's bizarre. No reason for that. Yeah, so yeah. Another thing that somebody's asked me to talk about is what I really miss from the old Warhammer Fantasy that's not in this one. That's a really, really long list. So I'll try to do it in as condensed a format as possible. Right, all of those guys have shields or their command group, aren't they? That guy's got a shield, but he's got the wrong shield. So we'll see. I'll see if I can provide him with a purple one. Right. So, what do I miss from the old world, and that would be, well, there's some stuff that they're not going to bring back because they're at the wrong time. So like, there's a whole load of characters that I like, special characters that I really liked. So like Queek Headtaker was a favourite of mine. I love Queek Headtaker. I mean, his rules were shockingly awful, but the lore behind this like mad murderous rat that basically talks to himself. Well, he's got this like possessed trophy rack that he puts the skulls of his enemies on. Head taker, and it talks to him. Well, they talk to him, so essentially he gets more powerful the more heads he takes, because he sort of gains their abilities. I mean, he doesn't in the game, but like, yeah. So I like Queek. He was great. Yeah, there's other characters like that. Like, I love the story of Archaon, like that. I really like that story. And if you want to know what it is, have a look on Amazon. The audiobooks are still available. Oh, bugger. That wasn't even stuck at all. Yeah, so the audiobooks, no, the audiobooks, there's no audiobooks, but the books are available. Yeah, so I liked Archaon. I liked the lore behind Dekala, and a lot of the champions of chaos I really like. I think they're quite cool, but they they've got rid of quite a lot of that. What I sometimes do to make it quicker to glue stuff is, if you put too much glue on one component and then you fake stick it onto two other models, then you leave a bit of glue on those two other models, so it makes it a little bit quicker. Or it can do. Sometimes it doesn't stick like that. You just get glue everywhere. But like, yeah. What about like rules and stuff that I miss? To be honest, I think this is the best rule set like that they've ever done. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest. I really like the kind of the the push and the shove of combat, in that combat, doesn't really, it moves around a lot, so it's not static, and you keep going until one side breaks. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. So, I mean, I like that mechanic. They've got that from, I think it was Warhammer Historical that used to have those sorts of rules. And I'm glad they've brought them in. They've essentially got the best bits from like 6th, 8th, and Historical, and a little nod to Lord of the Rings as well. So I think the games designers who've developed the old world really have put a lot of thought and a lot of time and effort into it. Sadly, I think it might just be them though, because I've noticed like on the website there's not really a lot available to order yet. It's almost like they've done this big launch as a bit of a test to see whether the old world is reasonably popular or not, and it might not be. But given the amount of content that's going on YouTube about the old world at the moment, there is a lot of nostalgia about it. I mean, it's interesting. I look at my the stats for like viewers on your videos, and more or less all of my viewers are men between the ages of about 30 to 50. So, which is me. I mean, I'm a bloke, 40. I'm like slap banging in the people that watch my videos. So, I don't really know what that says, to be honest. But I'm really hopeful that, I mean, I've done a video for like why you should get into this hobby. Oops, that was a double, wasn't it? Whoops. Yeah, I've done a video about why you should get into the hobby, like what it's good for. I think that's coming out tomorrow or Sunday. I don't know. See, what I tend to do is I tend to go through a bit of a splurge where I record a load of videos and then just sort of set them to publish like, one a day or whatever. So, so the algorithm likes you. Apparently that's how you get on top of YouTube. You just got to post about at least half an hour to an hour and a half's worth of content a day, and the algorithm will reward you by sending people to your channel, basically. And it seems to be working. Like, yeah. So, you pig. Oh no. Oh crud. What is that? Oh, it'd be the basing compound mixed with super glue. Yeah, so what else do I want to talk? What else do I miss about it? I don't miss. I suppose the one thing that I really, 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 really miss, because it's an army that I always wanted to get. I just never had the money to, because it was all metal and ridiculously expensive. Was the old regiments of renown, if you remember them? They were absolutely great. Like the Birdmen of Katraza, I got them because they were my favourite. Like they were rubbish. Like rules wise, they were pretty bad. They didn't really do a lot. They were just kind of like flying birdmen that had crossbows, and the crossbows weren't very strong. They were quite mobile, but like mobility wasn't necessarily. Oh, is that still tacky? No. Yeah, mobility wasn't necessarily that useful in 6th edition. It was more about just winning combat, so having something that could fly around and shoot stuff, was okay, but they were quite expensive points-wise. I can't remember how much they were, but they were like 30 or 40 points for like flying crossbowmen that only had ballistic skill 3, so they weren't even that good. So yeah, but rules-wise they were awful. I loved like all the pikemen, like Borgio the Besieger, who was like their main hero character bloke, who had this massive mace that was essentially a cannonball that had hit him in the chest a few years ago. So he got the cannonball made into a mace, and that meant he hit with strength 10, which was, you know, cool. And there was, what was her name? Lucrezia Belladonna, who was like a poisoner. So she had lots of weird, interesting poisoned attacks. And if I remember rightly, she had some weird rules about, like, at the start of the game, you can pick an enemy character and, like, reduce their weapon skill by 1, or, you know, stuff like that. Which was pretty cool. Yeah, so I liked her. I liked all of the whole of, like, the regiments of renown type stuff. So I really wanted to get an army of them. The Giants of Albion, which were a couple of giants, and I think a truthsayer as well, or some kind of, like, druidic figure that kind of led them around a bit and stopped them from being stupid. If, like, the druid died, they were stupid, I think was the rule, but I can't. It's a long, long time ago. Yeah, so I miss all that, really, but that's. I mean, hopefully they bring it back. Like, you're allowed allies, you're allowed mercenaries in armies, so there's no reason they can't. They can't bring that back. Talia and Estalia still exist in this timeline as well. So there's no reason they can't bring back something like that, but it's not going to be for a very long time, is it, really, realistically? They've said they're doing Cathay and Kislev, because those are the two sort of main releases from Warhammer Total War 3. Oh, I'm out of Dr. Pepper. So, that's those two new factions are the new factions that we're getting. Oh, there's some more who've got shields. I don't think I've got enough shields. That's annoying. I don't know where they would have gone then. Oh well. Oh no, I only need 3 more. Alright, so I don't have enough to take away the one that's got a black one. That's odd. Anyway, yeah, so they're the new factions that are coming. Well, that's what I miss, really. It's that kind of, like, cool, weird stuff that's not really part of the core game. Blimey. Yeah, so I told you I've got some Ushabti. I'm still trying to buy. I want to buy about 80 skeletons. So actually, message me or comment or whatever if you're wanting to get a Tomb King box because you want the books and the dragon, because I don't want the dragon, basically. I want everything else that's in there, but not the dragon. So I'm going to start, like, writing some army lists and sort of taking you through that kind of creative process as to how to do that in a kind of useful manner. I've done a quick video on, like, the importance of effective list writing, but that's more like why you should bother writing lists, and what just like the big things you need to think about when you're writing a list. Like, if you're going to take, like, some super heavy cavalry that does a lot of damage, how are you going to protect it? How are you going to make sure you get that? If you're looking at super heavy cavalry, how are you going to make sure you're going to get that charge off? Because if you've got super heavy cav, you need to make sure you get the charge off, and because they're super heavy, they're probably a little bit slower than other cavalry. So what you don't want is them getting charged by somebody else's light cavalry, because you've lost all your charge bonuses for starters. And actually, your opponent's light cavalry might actually beat you in combat because they've got the charge. So they've probably got charge bonuses, and round and round we go. So, I've done a video about all of that, but I'm going to start doing somewhere I'm actually, like, I think the first one I'm going to do is vampires. A, because vampires are cool, and B, because when I did my, like, rundown of the Vampire Army book, I got quite confused towards the end because I'm just like, there is just so much this book can do. Like, it's got literally bits of everything. There is just so much it can do. There's like, there's no, I don't think there's anything it can't do very well, apart from shooting. Obviously, Vampire Counts have never been very strong with shooting, but like, it's got some really good monsters. It's got some really good light cavalry. It's got some really. I mean, Blood Knights are possibly the best knights in the game. It's got some excellent super heavy cavalry. You've got combat wizardy monster things. You've got there's just so much it can do. It's brilliant. So I think I need to go through that, and what I'm going to do is like look at it from the perspective of, if you're trying to create a decent list, but there's also got a bit of a narrative to it. So like, if you want to do like a Blood Dragon list full of cavalry and martial prowess and stuff, like, how would you lean into that? Or how would you lean into like a more bestial Strigoi type list? Or how would you lean into like the Lamian kind of seductress, probably lots of skellies, sort of, thing? And how do you lean into, so how do you essentially build a list that's got a character? Well, the list has got a character, but it's also quite effective in terms of what it can do on the table. So I'm going to do that. So I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, I don't know. Oh yeah, I need to start doing some battle reports. I've my wife has agreed to let me teach her the old world, which is pretty cool. So that'll be a tutorial battle report that's winging your way soon. That'll just be probably a very simple 1,000 point battle, where we'll have like a monster each, a big unit each, and a few characters. So there's a bit of magic, but not a lot, just to keep it simple. So we can like go through the game, and I can, point out where people quite often get stuff wrong. So I'm going to have a bit more complicated army, because I want to do certain things that kind of show off like how things work, if that makes sense. And especially like Bastiladons. Bastiladons have like A, ridiculous armor saves, and B, ridiculous leadership. I know the leadership's not that great, but they've got these fantastic armor saves, and they do dish out a huge amount of damage. So I want to sort of show how to deal with that. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I just need to get my table sorted. that's the issue that's in the way. I've got loads of mats and stuff for Age of Sigmar, but that's not 6x4. I've got the old plastic 6x4 stuff that goes on top of the table, but I've got the Age of Sigmar, so it looks a bit Sigmar-y, so I don't really want to use that. I want to, something new. But actually finding stuff for 6x4 tables is quite difficult, I find. I've got loads of scenery which will do, so I've got like woods and stuff like that. So, that'll all be fine. It's just a case of like finding a battle mat, really. And the other complication is that my wife's allergic to rubber and latex and stuff, so I can't have those mouse mat type mats, which is annoying because they're great. But I'm not going to make her suffer just so we can play a game of Warhammer. That would be incredibly selfish. So actually, that's pretty much all I've got to talk about today on Shedcam. I was going to show you like how to put some, but you've seen how I do these. I mean, it's more or less the same process. You just clip it off and stick it on, and then fill in the edges with that so it looks okay. So yeah, what else? What else should I talk about? I can't think of anything else. I'm currently. I just had a couple of beers today, so like I said, I'm quite tired because I've had quite a lot of. Oh, pardon me. I'm quite tired because I've had quite a lot of quite a busy week. So yeah, but I'll get on to doing a bit more recording tomorrow when I'm less tired, and hopefully we'll do a battle report. I've got to finish off doing the army book reviews. I think I'm just going to like take a day off next week and just blitz them. Yeah, so that's Shed Talk for today. What I'm planning to do realistically is like do like one of these Shed Talk videos every week. That I don't know when I'm going to like release the video. Oh yeah, and the other thing is I've got a couple of people locally who've said they're quite happy for me to like record them when we do a battle report in future. So I've got a couple of other battle reports lined up. So I've got this tutorial with the missus, and then another couple of guys lined up. One of which has got well, I say a couple of guys. I think I've only asked one. I've just assumed this other guy would be happy. um, but whatever. You shouldn't make assumptions. You make an ass out of you and me is the old saying, isn't it? But yeah, so that should be quite cool. And hopefully this week with work is going to be a bit less draining. But yeah, I suppose it's not been a busy week, like in terms of loads of stuff to do. It's been busy, like taxing mentally and really quite draining. And my like motivation to do anything at all other than eat and go to bed is quite low at the moment. So I'm glad I managed to get out to the shed to finish off basing these lizardy chaps. And yeah, I'll I don't know what the time is, but I'm feeling knackered, so I'm going to go to sleep, and I'll catch you again soon. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff if you want to. Obviously, I'll keep. To be honest, this whole process is quite cathartic. Like, it's quite nice, just sort of nattering to a camera, knowing that at some point somebody might listen to my rantings. It's like having a therapist, to be honest. Yeah, like it's like having a counsellor almost. It's not quite as good because counsellors do give a bit of feedback, or good ones do. Anyway. Well, in my opinion, good ones do. But yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling on again, so I'm just going to keep recording these sorts of things, and whatever. But yeah, catch you again soon. Toodaloo.